The craziest thing about my wealthiest clients is not what they bought. It is what they ignored. No secret stock, no magic coin, no rich uncle, no billionaire group chat, just one boring rule. Rule 843. And yeah, I know. That sounds like something a banker would whisper right before charging you a management fee for breathing near his office. But stay with me, because this rule explains why the first stretch feels like punishment, why most people quit right before the machine wakes up, and why the system loves teaching you the wrong lesson in the slow years. Look, if you ever thought, I've been saving for years and this still looks tiny, that does not mean compounding failed. It means you met the ugly beginning. And that ugly beginning is where most people get played, because your brain expects money to grow like a paycheck. Straight line, effort in, result out. But compounding does not move like a paycheck. It moves like a snowball. Small, embarrassing, kind of pathetic at first. Then suddenly, not suddenly, but it feels sudden, it gets heavy enough to pull itself downhill. And this is the part nobody talks about. Most people never lose the long game because the math was bad. They lose because they panic in the valley, reset the clock, and make the first hard years count for nothing. Legally, I gotta say, none of this is financial advice. Personally, I'd say it's just common sense they don't teach you in Econ 101. So let me show you the cheat code. Rule 843 is simple. The first 100,000 takes around 8 years. The second 100,000 takes around 4. The third 100,000 can take around 3. Now, before the comment section turns into a cage match, no, that is not a law of physics. It is a pattern. A pattern built on steady contributions, time, and the very annoying reality that money earns the least when you have almost none of it. That is the scam hiding in plain sight. When your balance is small, almost all progress comes from you. Your hours, your discipline, your skipped nonsense, your boring transfers, your restraint when everybody else is posting vacations financed by future regret. The portfolio is barely helping yet. It is like pushing a dead car. At first, the engine is not saving you. The downhill is not saving you. Your playlist is not saving you. It is just your legs and bad language. Then the car moves. Then it rolls. Then, if you stop doing stupid things, it starts helping itself. Meet Marcus, 26, makes $68,000 a year, lives in a city where rent acts like it got a private equity degree. He starts putting away a few hundred a month, some months more, some months less. Not heroic, just consistent. Year 1, the number barely moves. Year 2, better, but still underwhelming. Year 3, he checks the account, does the math in his head, and feels insulted. Because his brain says, that's it? For all that sacrifice? And that feeling right there, that little punch of disrespect, kills more compounding journeys than bad markets ever could. Because people do not quit spreadsheets, they quit emotions. Here's the thing. The first 100,000 is not hard because the market is against you. It is hard because gravity is against you. Your base is small. Your gains are tiny. Your mistakes matter too much. Fees bite harder. Taxes bite harder. Panic hurts more. Inflation keeps licking the plate while you are still cooking. That is why the first milestone feels cursed. Not because the formula is fake, because the engine is weak until the fuel tank is bigger. And this is where the fake gurus enter like Marvel lights. They see your frustration and say, the slow path is for losers. I've got something faster. Translation? They found a new way to harvest impatience. But real compounding is boring on purpose. Boring is not failure. Boring is camouflage. It is so unsexy that people abandon it for stories. And stories are expensive. Now let's make the rule less mystical. Imagine your money as workers inside a warehouse. At the start, you have maybe 3 workers. They are exhausted. They move one box at a time. You still do most of the lifting. A few years later, you have 10 workers, then 20, then 30. And one day you walk in and realize the room keeps moving even when you are not touching every box. That is compounding. Money making tiny workers, and those workers making more workers. Not overnight, not every month, but over long stretches with shocking brutality. And the reason the second 100,000 often arrives faster is simple. You are no longer building from zero. You have contributions and a growing base. You have labor and capital working together. Street translation, you are not carrying the team alone anymore. Now let me add the part the internet likes to skip. Compounding is not just math. It is behavior under boredom. It is surviving stretches where progress looks fake. It is not touching the plant every hour to see if it grew. Because if you dig it up every weekend, Congratulations, you invented gardening for idiots. And this is not just me talking trash in a hoodie. Behavior research has shown again and again that the average investor often underperforms the very markets they invest in. Not because the market always betrayed them, because they buy after excitement, sell after fear, chase what already ran, abandon what looks boring, repeat until exhausted. There are also those famous stories from brokerage firms, where inactive accounts, forgotten accounts, even dead accounts in some cases, performed shockingly well compared with hyperactive humans. Dark humor, yes, but the lesson is serious. Less interference often beats more intelligence. Charlie Munger had that brutal line about the first 100,000 being a bleep and needing to get there any way you can. People quote it like hustle wallpaper. They miss what he actually meant. He meant the early stage is disproportionately difficult. That effort matters most when the machine is too small to impress you. He was not glorifying suffering. He was warning you about the valley. The valley of disappointment is where your expectations and reality start beefing. You expected a staircase. Compounding gives you a curve. And at the beginning of a curve, it looks flat. That visual lie is devastating. Because your eyes say nothing is happening. The math says foundations are being poured. Your emotions say, this is pointless. The system says, perfect. Sell now, spend now, restart later. Let me show you how this plays out in real life. Meet Tiana, 32, smart, responsible, no gambling habit, no yacht delusion, just tired. She sets up automatic contributions. She sticks with it for 3 years. She opens her account one night after work, sees the balance, sees the market wobble, sees how much she personally contributed versus how little the gains seem to matter. And her exact reaction is not greed. It is disappointment. She says, I thought I'd be further. That sentence has ruined more portfolios than recessions, because disappointment makes boring progress look broken. Then comes trap number 1, the safe account escape. This one looks rational. That is why it is dangerous. The market drops, headlines get dramatic. Everybody suddenly becomes an economist with a panic disorder. So Tiana moves her money into a safe account. Feels clean, feels adult, feels responsible. But what actually happened? She unplugged the engine because the road got bumpy. And meanwhile, inflation keeps eating in the background, like a subscription you forgot to cancel. Your balance might stop falling on screen, but your purchasing power can still get quietly mugged in the alley. This is the move they made on your parents too. They taught a whole generation to worship nominal safety while their money slowly lost strength. Street translation, no visible cuts, but the body is still bleeding. Trap number 2 is even nastier. Lifestyle inflation disguised as reward. You finally build a decent chunk. Not life-changing yet, but real enough to touch. Then the brain starts negotiating. Maybe I deserve a nicer car. Maybe the kitchen upgrade is an investment. Maybe I should celebrate being disciplined. Look, I am not anti-enjoying your life. Actually, no. Let me say that better. I am anti-resetting a compounding clock for something that will feel normal in 6 weeks. Because when you pull out that early pile for consumption, you are not just spending money. You are deleting time. You are erasing the hardest years. You are taking 8-year effort and telling it to start from scratch because stainless steel appliances looked emotionally healing on Pinterest. And the sick part? The purchase often does make you feel better, for a minute. That is why it keeps winning. Trap number 3 is the speculative detour. This one usually arrives through a friend, a clip, a post, or some dude with suspicious confidence and perfect lighting. You tell yourself you are not quitting compounding. You are speeding it up. Very different, totally sophisticated, definitely not gambling with better branding. So the boring account gets raided. The money moves into the hot thing. Maybe it doubles for someone else. Maybe it crashes for you. Maybe you panic sell. Maybe you hold too long because admitting the mistake would hurt your ego more than losing the cash. Either way, the result is the same. The base shrinks, the clock resets, and now the valley looks even longer than before. Because nothing is more demoralizing than watching a slow plan you abandoned turn out to have been the correct one. Now here is what separates the people who reach escape velocity from the people who keep restarting chapter 1. The winners do not have stronger motivation. They build stronger systems. They automate contributions. They reduce decisions. They stop checking the portfolio like it is a situationship, quarterly. Maybe monthly at most in the early years if they absolutely must. not 12 times before lunch. Because every glance invites a feeling. Every feeling invites a decision. And most unnecessary decisions in investing are just expensive mood swings wearing spreadsheets. They also reframe the money. For at least several years, they treat it like it is gone. Not literally inaccessible, life happens, but psychologically assigned. This matters. Because if every dollar still feels available for upgrades, escapes, and ego purchases, the account becomes a temptation jar, not a compounding machine. And then something changes. At first, you are the engine. Then one day the portfolio begins producing more than your annual additions. Read that again. There comes a point where the machine starts doing more work than you do. That is the crossover. That is when peace enters the room. Not because risk disappeared, not because markets suddenly become kind, but because you are no longer asking a baby snowball to act like an avalanche. The physics changed. This is why wealthy people often appear patient. It is not just personality. The machine rewards patience more visibly once the base is large. Patience is much easier when patience has receipts. Until then, you need tactics. So let's talk about acceleration without turning this into guru soup. First, in the early years, contribution rate matters more than tiny return differences. Everybody online wants the perfect allocation debate. Meanwhile, they are saving almost nothing. That is like arguing about spoilers on a car with no engine. The stage that feels like 8 years is won by cash flow. Earn more if you can. Cut recurring leaks if you can. Sell clutter. Negotiate bills. Avoid lifestyle creep. Redirect windfalls instead of instantly upgrading your identity. Not glamorous, very effective. Second, remove friction. Use automation. Use accounts with tax advantages when they fit your situation. Use employer matches if available. Use legal structures designed to reduce drag. I am not naming products, relax, compliance team. I am saying this. If the system offers a lane where less of your money gets shaved off on the way to compounding, learn that lane. Friction is the silent tax nobody brags about beating. Third, understand volatility before it scares you out. If your time horizon is long, temporary drops are the price of admission for higher long-run growth assets. That does not mean be reckless. It means stop acting shocked that engines vibrate. People say they want long-term growth, then act betrayed when the road includes potholes. That contradiction is expensive. Diversification, street version. Do not keep all eggs in one basket, bro. But also do not confuse diversified with sedated. A portfolio built only to avoid discomfort can end up too weak to outrun the slow theft of inflation. Fourth, protect the process from your future self. Because future you is not always wise. Sometimes future you is tired, insecure, and one viral clip away from a terrible idea. Set rules while calm. What gets sold and why? What does not get touched and until when? How often you review? What percentage of raises gets redirected automatically? Make the good move default. Discipline is overrated. Environment wins more often. Fifth, measure progress the right way. Do not ask, why am I not rich yet? That is junk math. Ask better questions. Is the contribution rate up from last year? Is my savings habit more automatic? Is my capital base larger than it was 12 months ago? Did I avoid a panic decision this quarter? Did I keep the clock running? Because in the valley, the victory condition is not fireworks. It is survival with direction. That is how you cross the part nobody claps for. And one more thing. Stop making the first 100,000 compete with fantasy. Of course it looks small next to screenshots, inheritance stories, leveraged maniacs, and people cosplaying success on rented furniture. That comparison is psychological poison. You are comparing compounding, which is slow and honest, with theater, which is fast and edited. Wrong arena, different sport. If you want the rule 843 to work faster, the real levers are simple. Increase the amount going in. Keep it in long enough. Reduce drag. Do not interrupt the curve. And survive your own emotions. That is the whole game. Not easy. Very clear. So tonight, do one thing. Open your numbers. Not to judge yourself. To expose the leaks. Find the monthly amount actually going toward future you. Find what keeps interrupting it. Then raise that number, even slightly, and automate it. Because the first phase is not about looking impressive. It is about building the base that makes impressive possible later. The house loves when you quit in the valley. The house loves when you cash out early. The house loves when you confuse motion with progress. Do not give them that satisfaction. The boring rule is not boring when you understand what it's doing. It is building a machine that starts tiny, looks weak, gets mocked, then quietly changes your options. And once your money begins carrying more of the load, the anxiety shifts. You stop feeling like every month is a rescue mission. You stop treating every market wobble like a personal attack. You stop needing miracles. You just need the process to keep breathing. That is how people get out of the extraction cycle. Not with secret genius, with math, time, and behavior strong enough to survive the disrespectful beginning. And if you are in that beginning right now, listen carefully. The slow start is not evidence you are failing. It is evidence you started where everyone starts. Small, awkward, underpowered, human. Keep the clock alive. Because the biggest mistake is not starting late. It is restarting over and over until a decade disappears. Next time, I want to show you the metric that makes people feel rich on paper while being one bad month away from chaos. Because some people have a high net worth and a low safety margin, and that combination is way uglier than it looks. Don't let them play you. Listen to what they're actually saying.